Thank you, Barry, and to the men of Reform Judaism. Thank you for your kind words. I'm honored to be receiving this award tonight. And I want to congratulate the men of Reform Judaism as well. I understand that you recently received not one, but 2 awards at the National Convention, so congratulations to you as well. So Shabbat Shalom. Exactly 38 years ago today, my husband John and I were married. But I'm not going to talk about love tonight because the Torah portion we read this week, Parashat Shoftim, from the book of Deuteronomy, has very little to say about love. But it has a lot to say about justice, and that's what I'm going to talk about. And to talk about justice, I need to go back even further than my wedding. I need to go back to my college days when I served on a jury for the very first time. It wasn't actually a real jury, and I wasn't deciding a real case. I was serving on a mock jury for the Yale Law School trial practice class. There were 3 trial practice classes at the school, and the same case with the same facts was being tried at the same time in 3 different classrooms by 3 different sets of student lawyers and before 3 different mock juries. In 2 of the classrooms, the defendant was convicted. In the 3rd, he was acquitted. I walked away shaken by the experience as a juror, concluding that there is no justice given the different outcomes in the same case. I decided then that I could never be a lawyer. 7 years later, though, there I was. I did become a lawyer. By then, I had come to accept the pervasive role of the legal system in our society, and I wanted to understand from the inside how things work and why. And for the next 3+ decades, I worked as a lawyer, defending companies and individuals accused of misconduct, litigating estate disputes, handling internal investigations, and all kinds of civil and criminal cases. Through pro bono work, I challenged housing discrimination, sought asylum for people fleeing persecution, and helped prevent the shutdown of one of the last independent newspapers in Russia. The work was interesting, the cases challenging, and my career was satisfying and rewarding. But did I pursue justice, as Moses commands the Israelites to do in this week's Torah portion? I go back and forth on the answer to this question, even now. And I think the answer is, in some cases, yes, in others, no, and maybe it depends on how we define justice. So let's take a look at what Moses tells the people about justice in Shoftim. To set the stage, Moses and the Israelites have fled from Egypt and finished their wanderings in the desert. They stand at the shores of the Jordan River, looking out over the promised land where Moses delivers a series of speeches to the people. In Shoftim, which literally means judges, Moses instructs the Israelites how to create a system of justice based on the rule of law. He offers a blueprint for civil society that they can take with them when they enter into the land of Canaan. Some of Moses' instructions are practical, and they echo in our legal system today. But some of Moses' instructions are aspirational, more in the nature of ideal than reality. In terms of the practical scaffolding, Moses tells the people, "You shall set up judges and law enforcement officials in all your cities, and they shall judge the people with righteous justice." And we, too, have judges and law enforcement officials in our cities who serve as judges. Moses continues, "You shall not pervert justice, you shall not show favoritism, and you shall not take a bribe, for bribery blinds the eyes of the wise and perverts just words." Again, fairness is a bedrock of our legal system, and bribery most everywhere is a crime. Moses continues, "You shall investigate wrongdoing and mete out punishment, but no one shall be put to death by the word of only one witness." Even today, we recognize that evidence from multiple sources and testimony from multiple witnesses are more reliable than the word of a single witness, which may be distorted. Finally, Moses instructs, in the hardest cases, where the arguments on both sides are strong, where one judge can't decide between them, the matter is to be brought to the Kohanim, the high priests, and they will decide the case and the punishment. In a sense, Moses here is describing our system of appellate review by a panel of judges and our Supreme Court. So far, the legal system that Moses prescribes for the Israelites is familiar to us. It's to be fair and impartial, without favoritism or bias, and judges are to weigh competing arguments, seek out testimony from multiple witnesses, and the hardest cases are to be brought to a higher court to be decided by a panel of judges. But things get less familiar when we focus on Moses' command to judge with tzedek, with righteous justice. Tzedek, tzedek tirdof, he commands, justice, justice shall you pursue, that you may live and inherit the land that God is giving you. In talking about tzedek, righteous justice, Moses is talking about something more significant than a legal system scaffolding. He's talking about something bigger than what happens or doesn't happen day to day in individual courtrooms. In talking about tzedek, righteous justice, Moses is talking about an ideal of justice that's to be pursued always, but rarely can be realized. Rabbis have offered various interpretations of what Moses means by tzedek, righteous justice. They see it as an impossible to define combination of righteousness, fairness, integrity, holiness, compassion, and charity. This tzedek is a central focus of the book of Deuteronomy, where Moses recounts the Israelites' escape from Egypt and their journey through the desert, and reminds them what is most important to their success and survival as a people. According to the rabbis, tzedek and all it embraces is to be the foundation not just of our legal system, but of our lives. Tzedek is to govern all our social institutions and all our interactions with other people, other creatures, and with the natural world. The Reform movement is sometimes criticized for its emphasis on justice, on social and economic justice, racial justice, climate justice, etc. But we see in this week's parashah that the Jewish pursuit of tzedek, of righteous justice, comes straight from the Bible. It's not a Reform movement creation, but a theological command placed by Moses at the very center of Deuteronomy to remain at the center of Jewish life. It's no wonder Moses repeated the word twice, instructing the people, tzedek, tzedek, tirdof, justice, justice shall you pursue. The rabbis offer many theories why Moses repeated the word tzedek twice, beyond emphasizing its importance to our lives as Jews. One theory holds that the repetition reminds us that we are to pursue justice regardless of whether it leads to our personal gain or loss. Another holds that the repetition reminds us that the means, the pursuit of justice, and not just the ends, are important. A different interpretation is that the repetition reminds us that there are at least two sides to every argument, that sometimes both sides can be right, and that in these cases, compromise is necessary and the best alternative. Still, another interpretation is that the repetition reminds us that the pursuit of justice is an obligation for each of us as individuals. It's not just for judges to pursue justice. So too, the repetition reminds us to incorporate tzedek into both our words and our actions. And here's an interpretation that's especially timely now, as we've heard earlier tonight. We read Parashat Shoftim during the month of Elul, a time of introspection and reflection, just a few weeks before the high holidays, when we ask to be judged with compassion and we ask for forgiveness. Tzedek, tzedek reminds us to apply the same standards we seek for ourselves to our loved ones, to judge them with compassion and to grant them forgiveness as well. Each of us may create our own midrash about the reasons Moses repeated the word tzedek. What's important is that we continue to pursue tzedek, righteous justice, and make that pursuit central in our lives. Shabbat shalom.